Hello and welcome to Best Bets. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, joined as always by Newsday's NFL pick columnist, Joe Manniello. Joe, how's it going?
Doing good, Matt. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We both went 4-2 last week, so that brings me to 43-2, and you're sitting at 45-37-3 heading into week 15 here, the home stretch.
Here we go. No more buys.
No more buys, absolutely. So we'll hop in with the locals. The New York Jets are hosting the Detroit Lions. And I'm surprised the Jets are 1-point underdogs in this game. Does that surprise you at all? And what's the play?
I don't know. I think it's kind of even matchup here. I don't think the spread is that off. The Lions are playing really well. I'm going with the Jets here. I think this is their season right here. A 5-day window. Beat the Lions, beat the Jaguars 9-6, and then you can almost basically control your own destiny. I think the Jets find a way to win this game. It's going to be tight. But I come back to, and I've been on the Lions. I've been driving the Lions bandwagon bus for a few weeks, and you hopped on the last couple of weeks. But I just don't like them outdoors. I mean, they're a different team in the Dome. They've averaged 32 points or something like that at home, and only 18 on the road. They did beat the Giants at MetLife about a month ago. But I think the defense and the weather are going to be much tougher in this game here. I just think the Jets find a way. I think, you look back in their season, the Jets, this typical Jets fashion. What if this team could easily be 10-3 if they find a way to beat the Vikings and those two Patriots losses? But, it works both ways. They shouldn't have beaten the Browns. But, it's a long season. I think the Jets defense is going to be a difference in this game. I think it's a not low scoring, but, low 20s, 24-20 kind of win, 2017. As long as Mike White doesn't get another 20 hits to the ribs and he stays in the game, I think the Jets will find a way to win. The Lions, to me, just aren't the same team on the road. And Jared Goff has had a bad career record. I don't have the exact number, but it's not good. And like maybe 4-15 or something like that in outdoor, freezing temperatures or low 30s, whatever. So I think the Jets find a way here. It'll be a really close game. But I think this is their season. This is the time. This is it. You got to win this game. And the Lions are hot, and I think everyone's buying into them now. But on the road against the top defense, I don't see the offense clicking as much as at home. So I'll take the Jets +1 to win outright.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jets as well. And I think if the game was in Detroit, this could potentially be a little bit of a different story, and I'd be a little bit more nervous. But outside in cold weather really makes a big difference for a dome team. And Jared Goff in temperatures in the 30s, not great. I think 0-4 and like 5 turnovers in those 4 games. So to 1 passing touchdown. So not the greatest there. But a few times this year they've played elite level defenses in the Detroit Lions. And against Dallas, they had 6 points. That was in a dome, though. And against the New England Patriots, they were shut out. Now, different kind of team then early on in the season to now, and they're obviously on fire, winning 5 of their last 6 games. But I really like the Jets' defense in this spot. I think they're going to be able to get after Jared Goff with the defensive line. And the Lions' defense, they let up a ton of passing yards. They're 3rd in the league in passing. They've let up the 3rd most passing yards. And I think Mike White, if he's healthy, the plan is for him to start. I think he should be able to throw and throw for a lot of yards on this defense. I think the Jets win something like 27-17. I think this is a nice bounce back spot for them. The Lions are playing much tougher than I thought they would be, but I really think it's going to be a big difference with this game at MetLife in December, cold, windy day. I don't really trust the Lions in this spot, so I'm going to go with the Jets winning outright as well.
Okay.
As for the Giants, they travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders are 4.5-point favorites. Who do you like here?
Yeah, the spread may sound a little high, but I don't want to get analyze the spread and say, they're going to win by 3, so I'll take the Giants plus the points and the Commanders by 3. I think the Commanders are going to win the game. I think it's a really great setup for them. Just think about it. They played the Giants in week 13, so that crazy tie, right? Then they go on a bye, and the Giants have to face the Eagles, and they blow them out. So they're playing the Giants in back-to-back games. I think that's a huge advantage for them. They got to sit home last week while the Giants were demolished by the Eagles, and this game is at home. Now it's in prime time. And the Giants, I picked them most weeks here. I've been a big fan of Brian Daboll, and what this team has done. But they were 7-2. Now they're 7-5-1. I feel like the season's off the rails here. And also, they had some really lucky wins early on. So it's not like this team was a great team, and all of a sudden they're falling apart. It's just, I think the biggest issue in this game is the Giants secondary. The reason the Commanders were able to come back in that game was they just Terry McLaurin and the rookie Dotson, I think his name is. They had Taylor Heineke. They were able to drive on them to force overtime. I just don't see the Giants defense making enough stops in this game. Washington's weird. They're like they grind out these wins. They don't dominate anyone, but they find a way to win. And them having the 2 weeks off, I think it's just a huge advantage. Back-to-back games, and they probably should have won that game based on how the Giants defense looked. Maybe not. I mean, the Giants had a chance in overtime. I just feel like the Giants. It's been such a surprising season, but now it's just totally going off the rails, similar to the Seahawks who are playing Thursday night against the Niners. I just feel like the Washington has such a huge advantage with the scheduling that they find a way to win here. They won 6-7, and they played really well in the Heineke, and their defensive line is good. And also Saquon Barkley is 100%. There's just too many things going against the Giants. I just don't see how they move the ball enough. I have it like 24-13, something like that. I think it's not going to be that close. Commanders.
Okay. I'm on the Giants this week. I actually think this is a pretty good test for them and a pretty good test for the coach as well, and Brian Daboll. Both of us so far this year have, sang his praises, and I think he's done a really good job with this team. The last time they played, they tied, obviously, and then they got blown out by the Eagles. But this is pretty much the Giants' season, this game, because they have a really tough stretch. They have Indianapolis, Minnesota, then Indianapolis, and then the Eagles to close out the year. I think they desperately need this one, and they've been on a massive skid. They've lost 3 of 4, and the other one was a tie. So I get why a lot of people are on Washington with how well they've played and with the Giants' recent struggles, but I really like Daboll as a coach, and I think he's going to have this team ready to play. I think the Giants actually pull off the win outright. I'll say 20-17, a low scoring, kind of ugly game, but I talked about this last time, and it didn't really, pan out for us in a tie. But Daniel Jones has been great in his career against Washington. He's put up the best numbers there. The one game he lost against them down there was a game that they probably should have won. It was the Sterling Shepard, I think, who had the drop in the end zone?
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton. There you go.
Thursday night game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
they missed the field goal, right? They missed the field goal that would have won it.
Yep. So they always play Washington tough, and I think they're fighting for their season. They put up a good effort here this week.
Okay.
Let's go to our game of the week. We're going to take a look at one of the Saturday games, the Bills and the Dolphins. Bills are 7-point favorites here. Who do you like?
Yeah, we talked about this. There's not really a game of the week, so we chose this one because it's a Saturday night game. There's 3 Saturday games this week. Anyone listening who doesn't know, Vikings, Colts at 1 o'clock, and then Ravens, Browns at 4:30, and then this game all on the NFL Network. But this is actually my best bet of the week. I don't have a confident. For our segment, I'm going to do another one, but for my picks column, I don't have a confident. To me, there's not one game that's like, oh my god. But I like the Bills here a lot. I'm been Mr. Dolphins all year, my Super Bowl pick. Looking back on it now, I wish I would have. I had Dolphins over Eagles. I wish I would have swapped that and had Eagles over Dolphins. Because I don't know, the Dolphins right now, they might not make the playoffs from 8-3. They might be out of it. Tyreek Hill is banged up. The offense seems like defenses are figuring out how to defend this like quick slant, quick strike offense, playing it differently. And Tua Tagovailoa, hasn't been himself the last 2 weeks. They stayed out in California last week. They lost to the Chargers, and the week before they lost to the Niners. So now in California for 2 weeks. Now, this is their third straight road game, and it's in Buffalo where it's going to be snowing, I think.
Yep.
And I just don't like this matchup at all. I think this is the Bills have a ton of motivation here. One, they need to win, obviously, to keep hold of the AFC's 1 seed because the Chiefs are right there, and the Bengals and Ravens have 9 wins. So there's motivation for that. Also, it's a divisional game, and the first matchup, week 3, Miami won that game 21-19. It was a weird game. Buffalo had I think over 500 yards. They had tons of opportunities, but they just couldn't score in the red zone, similar to the Jets and the Vikings kind of. They just couldn't punch it in there. And then it ended with time running out, and Josh Allen, it was like one of, that Miami September heat. They were just, exhausted. So I think there's a lot of payback issue, on one of those storylines. I just don't like this matchup. Dolphins are reeling right now, and it seems as if everyone has figured out Mike McDaniel's offense. I think this is like a typical Bills Saturday night game. They win big, 31-17, something like that. And for what it's worth, the Bills are a 4-0 this year in non-Sunday games. They've won on Monday night, and I think 3-0 on Thursday nights and 1-0 on Monday night.
Okay.
So them not playing on Sunday, I don't know if that really means anything, but it just shows that they're well prepared. And I think they have way too many things going in their way here. Plus the weather. I just don't see how Miami's offense gets going here. So I like the Dolphins big to cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think this is a great spot for Buffalo and a tough one for Miami, who's dropped a couple in a row. But we talked about Detroit being a dome team going to play in the elements, and obviously Miami down in Florida, they play in the heat, and now going up into Buffalo where you might get lake effect snow on Saturday. That's a recipe for disaster for that Miami team. I don't really look at that and think that's the best spot for them. Their offense is really built on Tua getting the ball out to Tyreek Hill, who, as you mentioned, is banged up, and Jalen Waddle and their speedsters. That's not the elements that you want to be playing that style of football in. You want to play smash mouth AFC North, Northeast football. And that plays right into Buffalo's hands. I think the Bills win this one going away, 27-10, something like that. I really don't think Miami gets much going at all offensively. And you're right. I mean, everyone thought this team was going to be, on this incredible run. They were winning the division here for a little while, but it's a tough stretch of games for them here in the Final Four, and they have a lot to play for now. So I think the Bills win this one going away. So I'll take Buffalo -7 as well.
I read somewhere that the Dolphins supposedly for the Charger game, they had like heaters on the sideline for 50 degrees in LA. So who knows how they're going to do in Buffalo.
Good luck in Buffalo then. Oh my goodness. So how about you said you don't really love a game, but what are you going to take for your best bet here this week?
Yeah, it's the best bet. I mean, I'm going Buffalo in the paper, but there's not one game that really jumps out. I kind of like San Francisco Thursday night, but we don't do that. I don't know if I made that my best bet anyway, but I think they're going to win. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the team here. I don't really have a great feel on this game. I'm just going to go with play the numbers here, and I'm going with the Cowboys -4.5 at Jacksonville. It's just this is all about the narrative about how everyone puts too much stock into the previous week's result. So Tennessee, Jacksonville had a great win in Tennessee, right? They blew them out, and Dallas barely beat one-win Houston. So who wants to pick Dallas this week? Oh, Jacksonville. They got 4.5 at home. Dallas could barely beat Houston. I don't think it means anything. NFL is the ultimate week-to-week league. And the last time Dallas had a poor game when they blew it in Green Bay, the next week they went to Minnesota and won 40-3. So it just shows you that previous week doesn't really matter. That's my TED talk for this pick, and I'm going with the Cowboys -4.5. I think they just have too much offense. I think it'll be close because Jacksonville can score too, but like a 34-27 kind of game, high scoring. I like Dallas to bounce back.
All right, there you go.
They don't lose, you know what I mean? But play better than they did last week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Dallas here as well this week. I'm going to go with the Bengals -3.5. The Bengals have been on an absolute run so far over the last few weeks here, and Tampa Bay, man, they looked awful against San Francisco. I know it's a home game for Tampa Bay, but the 3.5 number, that sounds way too small for me. I'd be comfortable taking this one with a couple of extra points tacked on as well. I just have no faith in Tampa Bay, and I think Cincinnati's getting hot at the right time. This feels like the perfect spot for Cincinnati, and they have a lot to play for too. They're a wild card team who are chasing the Ravens. More on them in a little bit here, but they have some injuries at the quarterback position. So these games really, really matter, and I don't see how Tampa Bay could pull this one off.
Yeah, I like Cincinnati too. They were a possible best bet, but you said you were taking them, so I backed off.
There you go. So how about an underdog now?
All right, so Underdog. This is a game that I was watching last week's Dolphins-Chargers game Sunday night. Turned out to be not that close. Wasn't that great of a game. So I'm looking at next week's schedule. I'm looking there Sunday night, scrolling through my phone, and I see the Chargers-Titans. And I'm like, okay, so the Chargers are favored by 2.5 at the time. Now I think it's up to 3, right?
Yes, it's 3.
So once you got to 3, I was going to take the Titans, and I'm hoping it goes to 3.5 by the time the paper comes out tonight. I like the Titans here. They're a team that I was down on when the season started. They started 0-2, and then they won 7 of 8. They were 7-3, but they've lost 3 in a row, and they just don't seem right. But I just don't trust this Chargers team as a favorite here. I think this is a spot where we talked about this multiple times, especially myself. Mike Vrabel has thrived as an underdog, like 22-10 or something like that when it's 3 points, some ridiculous number. And I feel like Chargers can't stop the runs. I think Derrick Henry has a big game. Now the Titans can't stop the pass, so Justin Herbert will have a big game. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, back and forth kind of game. But I think the Titans are a live dog here, and I'm getting 3 points. So I think they can win the game outright. I think it's a good play here. Everyone seems to be on the Chargers. I think people forget, like, we're all kind of prisoners of the moment when we pick these games. The Chargers, if you look at their track record all year, they've been I know they had a lot of injuries, but such an underachieving team. They never give up a ton of big plays. Never seem to. The coach has had a weird season, and last year he was super aggressive. This year he's conservative. So I don't know what to make of them, and I don't trust them. I think Titans. I don't know if I see the Titans losing 4 in a row with Mike Vrabel. I think they're just a hard-nosed team, and they find a way as underdogs. No one's picking them, so I'll be the guy to pick them. Titans +3, and I think they win outright, 27-24.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too. I like the Titans a lot this week. I think obviously the Chargers are in a playoff spot now. Their next 2 games, I think, are going to be tough for them because, as you mentioned, they can't. I know it's your pick, but just to throw this in here, they can't stop the run, and they're going up against Derrick Henry this week and Jonathan Taylor next week. So I think they're on upset alert 2 weeks.
That game in Indianapolis.
Yeah, the game in Indy. Yeah.
Okay.
So something to keep note on, but for my underdog, I'm gonna go with Baltimore +2.5. And I know that it's kind of up in the air who's gonna start this game for Baltimore, but this is more of an anti-Cleveland pick for me. Even with Deshaun Watson coming back, that offense hasn't been good either of these 2 games. They got lucky in their first game back against Houston. They got crushed, and they let me down against Cincinnati last week. I thought they'd be able to keep that one close. They put up 10 points. I think just the Ravens are the better team, and I don't think it matters if it's Huntley starting for them in this game. I think they do enough to get this one done. I think the defense plays well enough to where Watson's not putting up a ton of points on them. I think the Ravens win outright in a kind of low-scoring, sloppy game, maybe like 16-13, something like that.
Yeah, they won 16-14 last week at Pittsburgh. It's funny. I was going to take Cleveland only because how could I take a team with a 3rd-string quarterback starting? I never heard of this guy, Anthony Brown. I had to Google. Went to Oregon, but they know a little bit more about it, and they do have John Harbaugh. They have a great running game, and Justin Tucker. So yeah, like you said, they can win a 15-12 kind of game. I agree. The 2 key words there were anti-Cleveland. I think they've been such a disappointment, and Deshaun Watson has looked awful. So I don't think that you should think that he's just going to go to have a big game against a good Baltimore defense. I like that pick. I'm taking the Ravens too.
Absolutely. So let's go to the bonus. We're going to do a head-to-head for our bonus this week, the Patriots and the Raiders. What side are you on?
Yeah, I'm going with the Patriots here. I'm not a big Patriots guy. Last week I picked the Cardinals on the belief that they had struggled against mobile quarterbacks, and then Kyler Murray got hurt. And they won that game with a defensive touchdown. They're a weird team, the Patriots. They're 7-6, and I don't see them as a contender at all. But I like them in this matchup for just a simple fact that they find ways to win these close games, and the Raiders are the exact opposite. They find ways to lose these close games. I mean, the Raiders. Could you imagine last week if you turned that game off up 16-3? They somehow lost to Baker Mayfield and the Rams. They should have won that game 31-10. I mean, they were dominating that game. They lose that game. They've lost about 6 or 7 games like that this year. They one-score games, a couple awful defeats early in the year against the Cardinals. That 1-point loss against the Chiefs Monday night. They just continue to find ways to lose. And last week, I wrote my picks column last week, the Thursday game. I thought if the Raiders won that game last week, they could have made a little run here to get to 9-8 and possibly get that last playoff spot, even 10-7. But I don't know how they're going to bounce back here. I also think Belichick against McDaniels, that's advantage Belichick. And Patriots just find ways to win. They're staying out, and they stayed out in Arizona this week, so they have to travel back and forth. I was like that when teams do. It doesn't always work. Look at the Dolphins, but I just don't trust this Raiders team. I think they might be out of it now after that kind of loss. And I think it's going to be a close game. The Raiders game is similar to the Chargers. They're always close this year, but I trust Belichick and the Patriots defense to make enough plays to win a close one. I don't know, 27-24, 24-20, something like that. And Mac Jones, he seems to play better on the road, and maybe he'll hang out with Josh McDaniels during the game, which he was back on his team because he doesn't like Matt Patricia. But the Patriots just keep finding ways to win these games, and the Raiders will keep finding ways to lose them. So I'm going with that theory.
All right. So why I'm going with the Raiders, a couple of things. One, you mentioned it, the New England didn't really impress me in that win over Arizona. It was kind of more of like they took advantage of some of the mistakes that Arizona made, which obviously, a win is a win, so you got to, give them credit for that. But up until that loss against the Rams, I agree with you. I think the Raiders have been playing good football, but the advantage that I will say McDaniels has is he was the OC for Mac Jones last year. So obviously he knows him well, and I think he'll be able to know his deficiencies. And Jones has struggled at times this year, and turnovers has been an issue for him this year as well. So he has 8 picks in 10 games to just 7 touchdowns. I think a defensive score is going to be a difference in this one from the Raiders side of things. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, sloppy kind of game, but give me 23-20 Raiders. Struggling, more Mac Jones yelling at the sideline at the combination of Patricia over there, and I don't think they're going to be able to do enough offensively in this one. Obviously, with Belichick, you can't count them out. They've hung around and done a pretty nice job of that this year, but I think the advantage lies with what McDaniels knows about Mac Jones having him last year.
Maybe.
So let's take a run through of these real quick before we get out of here. For the Jets and the Lions, both Joe and I are on the Jets +1. Giants, Commanders, I'm going with the Giants +4.5. Joe is going with the Commanders -4.5. Bills, Dolphins, both on the Bills -7 for our game of the week. My best bet, I'm going Bengals -3.5. Joe is on Cowboys -4.5. Underdog pick, I'm going to take the Ravens +2.5. Joe's taking the Titans +3. And our head-to-head bonus pick, Raiders -1 for me. Joe is taking Pats +1. Another week in the books, Joe. Thank you so much for joining me, and good luck as always.
All right, Matt. Thank you. Great job.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right, Matt. Thanks, man. Talk to you.
Bye.